Okay, everybody, welcome to the Wishaw Community Board meeting, 31st of August 2022. A wise man used to say to me, you should never volunteer for anything, but I'm going to stand in tonight because Councillor Burgess is elsewhere. We have a busy agenda, but I'll try and get you through it as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. Vicky, do we have any apologies?
Hi, Councillor. I'm not sure if Vicky's joined the call yet, but I can give some information. So we've got apologies from Councillor McManus and Councillor McVeigh. We've also got apologies from Stuart Murray from Police Scotland, Graham Morrow from Fire Scotland, Mark Kay from NHS Lanarkshire, Graham Wands from the YMCA, Catherine Carson from GBT, and Dennis O'Keefe from Voice of Experience.
Thanks, Gary. Have you all had a chance to look at the previous minutes? If possible, could we get a proposer and a seconder for them? Did we have somebody there for proposer and seconder?
Robbie, sorry, I can't do it because I wasn't at the last meeting.
That's fine, Louise. Anybody else that was at the last meeting?
Councillor, I can't do it either because I left the meeting earlier.
Okay, thanks very much, Karen. What we'll need to do then is we'll need to move on to the next point of business, and that'll be Leanne Pollock or Gary Stark. Who'll take us through that.
I'm happy to do that, Councillor. So in terms of the matters arising from the last meeting, there's a couple of things that I can pick up on, and I'll bring Gary and others in as appropriate. The first item actually is the Wishaw Town Centre hub. I think James McKinstry, the community coordinator, was going to come in and just provide a very brief overview in terms of where we're at with that one. Is James on the meeting? We can come back to him if he's not managed to get in yet. Okay, I'll move on. I think it's because we've started sharp. There might be some people just not quite made it in yet. There was a request for an update in terms of Moto X. Community board members and people in attendance will be aware that there's been discussion at previous community board meetings where through the local development programme there was a notional commitment from community boards to support for the local development programme to be used to support the purchase of off-road bikes and quad bikes to support the work of the police in tackling some of the issues associated with off-road bikes. The latest update is that the kind of right now the council is finalising the procurement route for that, and we're just waiting for approval to proceed on this basis. Sorry, I should have put that on mute. We'll continue to work with Police Scotland to progress that work as quickly as we possibly can once the procurement route's been finalised. The Waterloo Development, I've had an update, but what I've also been sent, or I'm being sent probably hopefully by tomorrow morning, is an update in relation to the Waterloo Development, a kind of report that provides an update on the community benefit activity that was delivered associated with that particular development. What I can say is that McTaggart Contractors delivered a number of community benefits and actually exceeded their original targets. So some of the things that they did was they recruited 7 new employees from the area, 4 apprentices, 6 work experience, and that was all since the construction began in February 2021. That development's obviously now complete. 6 of the employees reside in North Lanarkshire. There was also some work experience provided to 6 North Lanarkshire pupils as part of their kind of school work experience process. The McTaggart also hosted events consisting of construction talks around variety of careers, apprenticeships, opportunities and pathways to construction for local people. There was £300 donated to health improvement through North Lanarkshire Council and for the wider community. It was for Christmas parcels to be distributed in the area, and there was support provided to a local North Lanarkshire primary school in relation to some new play equipment and planters, as well as some training, mentoring and support provided to that school and nursery. They don't attribute as a numerical contribution as such. Contractors are asked to set a target based on the percentage of the overall tender proposal, and that's proportionate to the size and scale of the project. But moving forward, there is work in the background to better align community benefit to the local outcome improvement plans and the priorities that communities have identified for themselves. Do you want me to just go through them, Councillor, Chair, or do you want me to stop for questions between each item? I'll just keep going. If people have got questions, they can come in at the end. I'll jump onto Christmas trees and then I'll bring Gary in terms of his update around the new mains. Christmas trees for 2022. This was discussed at the last meeting. The kind of latest update on that is that the council will continue to provide festive decorations, including trees within the 8 main town centres for the coming year. However, as has been in previous years, any festive decorations or trees out with or within communities out with the town centres will require to be self-funded by the local community. But I know that there has been some discussion about the potential to use local development programme funding for that in previous years, and that's maybe something that can be revisited. So to ensure that the service can undertake the necessary procurement, testing and planning for the work, it's important that they're notified of any plans around festive decorations as early as possible, and they're asking that any plans that communities have got that will require support or input from the council are forwarded to them by the end of September. So I'll put in the chat bar that any requests should be sent to roads@northlanarkshire.gov.uk with the subject heading festive quotation. That's all my updates. I know Gary's got an update to give under the matter arising related to New Mains Community Council LDP applications. And if James is with us, he was going to do a brief input around the Wishaw Town Centre Hub. Happy to take any questions or comments. Thank you.
Hi, sorry, can I just ask a question in relation to the Christmas trees? The self-funded Christmas trees for...
Gary, did you want to come in?
Sorry, Leanne, I'm happy to let Karen ask her question.
It was just to ask for the self-funded Christmas trees. The council costs were extremely high last year. In New Mains, we raised funds for that, and we're expecting them to go up this year again. What I was looking to find out is, would the communities be able to...
Are people having some connection issues or audio issues? Are people hearing me? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Councillor McKendrick, will we just move on to Gary and James's input then?
Leanne, Karen from New Mains Community Council was actually speaking. I think maybe you've got issues hearing at your end.
We're not able to hear you, Councillor, or I'm not anyway.
It was Karen Mitchell that was talking from New Mains Community Council.
I'll just send Leanne a quick message if you give us a moment. Karen, do you want to continue?
Thanks, Gary. Really what I was asking...
Okay, James, I'm not going to pretend to understand what that means or what I need to do with it, but what do we need to do?
Hi, Leanne, just give Karen a wee minute to speak about the Christmas trees, and then we'll move on to agenda item 4, because I think Gary's going to come in at local priorities with his update.
Yeah, will I just go ahead? Yeah. The cost for the Christmas trees last year was really expensive, and sourcing the funding again for this year. Although we think we will be able to do it, we don't know what the prices are. Would we be able to negotiate with the council and speak to them regarding getting our own contractors to put them up, maintain them, etc., if we can source them at an extra cost, and obviously health and safety and everything's all kosher? Is that something that the council would agree to?
Karen, I'll be happy to take that back to John Ashcroft and his team
That's
just to
great.
clarify it for you, and I'll come back to you as soon as possible.
Fantastic, Gary. Thank you.
Hi guys, are you hearing me okay now? Yep.
Yeah.
Move on to agenda item number 4 then, if there are no more questions for that.
Sorry, Chair, there's just 2 other items on this part, if that's all right. I'll come in with the LDP update for New Mains.
Right, that's in the local priorities then.
It's under matters or items, item 3.
Okay, no problem.
So last meeting there was some questions raised about the local development programme application submitted by New Mains Community Council. I'm glad to report that they have all now been receipted and due process has now been followed. I have been in touch with the Community Council and have had one initial meeting to discuss their ideas, and more information will be forthcoming as we progress through the process. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Gary. Can we have agenda item number 4 then put for routes to work? We've brought that forward for Diane. Go ahead, Diane.
Hi. Good evening, folks. Thanks for inviting me along today. It's just a 5-minute update on what Routes to Work are doing in the community areas. I'm Diane Taylor and I'm the community engagement worker with Routes to Work, and I cover the whole of North Lanarkshire along with my colleague Sharon. So we've been attending a lot of events throughout the community, reconnecting with a lot of partners and reconnecting with the community councils. I suppose quite a few of you have heard the Routes to Work. I've been with the business for about 12 years. We celebrated our 20,000th job since we started 20 years ago, and we're really proud of the lives that we've been changing in the local communities. Our main office for Wishaw is based at Craigneuk, the old Craigneuk Library, and we're out in the community. I'm in Wishaw Library on a Friday, and all the other community halls as well around North Lanarkshire. We're providing one-to-one support to people looking for work or looking for training, or who are in work but limited hours or a zero contract. So it's not just about employment, it's about training. We have a health and wellbeing programme as well that people can refer into. Over the COVID period, we were still in operation, although it wasn't face-to-face, but we're now steadily getting people back into the office and doing face-to-face contact if they want it, or Zoom or telephone. And registrations have been quite high, and we're managing to get people into work. We usually project about 100 people a month into work across our business. So that's really Routes to Work's kind of support. We support with childcare. We've just recruited with our partners NHS and Motherwell College for clinical support workers, and we provide childcare while the students are training for that. So we've just done the recruitment with our partners for that. We also offer the training, as I said, so that can be construction safety tickets, security badges, any kind of training we can deliver partially, and accredited training as well. We have a full set of training advisors. We also work with North Lanarkshire Council's Economic Development Officers, and we bring on vacancies from small to medium-sized companies. So the council are helping us to approach these employers and bring them on board, and they're given a wage subsidy by the council. This is a really unique service that we can offer, and we can get our clients into work. So if somebody in North Lanarkshire, a resident in North Lanarkshire, is unemployed, they register with us, they're also guaranteed an interview if it's a North Lanarkshire Council job vacancy. So there's lots of pluses to people being registered with us, and I would just like to ask if you could put the word out about Routes to Work. And I've got posters and things that I'll distribute, and we're out and about in the community putting our posters up on the notice boards. Is there any questions? Anybody get any questions? Okay, so I'll just sign off now, and let you folks get on with business, and hopefully connect with you again at the next meeting. Okay, bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, Diane. Thanks for that.
No bother.
Oh, we have a late question here.
Oh, right.
Oh no, it's Lucy coming in. She's jumping the gun. She's coming in with NHS. Lanarkshire Tobacco Control Team update. Is that right, Lucy? Lucy, I think you're on mute. Is anybody actually hearing Lucy there?
Can you hear me? Okay.
What do you
This
know?
doesn't seem to be working. So I was just saying my apologies. I've not seen the agenda, so I wasn't sure if I was scheduled for speaking. So I just wanted to raise my hand because it seemed an opportune moment for that.
Okay, we'll move on to the next part of the agenda then, number 6, which is the local priorities. I don't see Vicky on the call. Gary, would you be taking that? Vicky. Go ahead, Vicky.
Right.
Councillor, is tobacco control not on the agenda next?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was going to say Lucy's got something to say there.
Yeah, but you're ready to go with your speech?
I am, yes, thank you, Councillor. Can I just check though that you can hear me okay, because the sound is a bit intermittent for me. Okay,
Yeah, we can hear you now, Lucy.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So I have got a presentation, but I'm not sure if it's available for sharing. So I might just talk rather than sharing the presentation. So thank you very much for inviting me, well, allowing me to speak here today. My name is Lucy Gunatilaka. I work in health improvement in the tobacco control team. And it was just what we were wanting to do was just we're coming to some of the community councils just to talk a little bit about some of the work that we're doing, a bit like Diane was just speaking. So with tobacco control, you'll know us best probably by our Stop Smoking service. But one of the things that I just wanted to talk about first was in Scotland, we've got an aim for reducing smoking prevalence to 11%. And at the moment, with the levels of smoking in Lanarkshire, North and South, we're not looking like we're going to actually meet that target of kind of reducing the prevalence. At the moment, it's about 16% of people in North Lanarkshire are smoking, and in South Lanarkshire, it's about 14%. So we're working on that, but one of the reasons to come here today is obviously to say that, you know, the Stop Smoking service is available, and we're still very much kind of trying to target people to come and make a quit attempt with us. So that's just a little bit about the context, that there is still kind of a prevalence of smoking. But then it was just to talk a bit about our service. So you probably know about our smoking cessation service. So we offer specialist support for people to stop smoking. So we offer telephone support from our trained nurses and practitioners. And what they do is they provide NRT products, and they provide weekly telephone behavioural support to clients for over 12 weeks. We can also offer NRT products for longer than that if that's helping somebody to continue their quit. We also run a pharmacy-based service as well, which means that people can come and get that support, face-to-face support, and their NRT products from their local pharmacy. And many of the pharmacies in across Lanarkshire offer that support. We also have a specialist service for pregnant clients and for people experiencing mental health problems with specialist teams within our service as well. So we were obviously affected by COVID. A lot of our nurses had to be redeployed, but our services continue to operate, and we're still here and wanting to support people to quit. So that's kind of the stopping smoking side, but we also do a lot of work around prevention and protection. So the aspiration in Scotland is for basically the kind of the next generation to be a tobacco-free generation. So a lot of our work, our campaigns, our project work is targeted at that. So it's the prevention of people taking up smoking, and also the protection of people from secondhand smoke. So some of the things that we do are we run a campaign around getting people to sign up to be a positive smoke-free role model, and that's something that we've been working with community organisations all across Lanarkshire for organisations and individuals to sign up to that. We use a programme called Jenny and the Bear to engage with children and in the early years about smoking messages, mainly about smoke-free environments. If you've got a pet, you might have noticed some of our posters in your local veterinary surgery recently, where we've been running a campaign about raising awareness of the impact of secondhand smoke on people's pets. So we're really trying to continue to raise awareness and to encourage people to come to us. Now, our targets are set by Scottish Government, and the targets are for people living in SIM 1 and 2 areas, but obviously we provide stop smoking support for everybody. But what I would say is that that was just kind of a little roundup of some of the work. We do more work than that. There's work around enforcement of around tobacco products, but I don't want to take up too much of your time today. So it was really to convey that the service is available. If you know anybody, they can refer themselves to our Stop Smoking service, and I'd very happily they can do that online through NHS Inform, or calling up the Quit Your Way Scotland number to self-refer, or in fact, like any healthcare professional, can refer them to us. But that also within the community, we really are looking for people to kind of share our messages in social media, and also to sign up for this idea of being a positive smoke-free role model. So that's organisations and individuals who we hope would support that programme. So it's basically saying, you know, if somebody's a smoker, that they're making sure that they're not smoking around children, they're taking it outside, or they're sharing the messages. You know, if people are coming to their house, they're saying, no, I'm sorry, this is a smoke-free environment. So it's the smoke-free role model is very much about saying, taking kind of a personal responsibility for trying to create smoke-free environments for children and young people. But what I would say is a lot of this information is also on our Facebook page and on our NHS Lanarkshire Quit Your Way page as well. So I think that's I'll probably leave it at that for now. So thank you very much for having me, and I'm very welcome to take any questions if anybody has anything about our service.
Thanks very much for that, Lucy. We'll move now on to agenda item number 6, which is community engagement. Vicky, can you take us through the first 3 points on that?
Yeah, no problem, Councillor. The first point is the new mains school site, the new site. There's consultation now complete for the new play park that we're pulling together for there. The survey results are basically being pulled together just now, along with results from consultation of 3 school and nursery workshops that were being completed at Newmains Primary School and Nursery, St Bridget's Primary School and the Family Learning Centre in Newmains. As I say, we're pulling these together in order to inform the design specification of this play park and to progress to the next stages. So that's currently the stage we're at with that one. For the next one, it's the Overton Outdoor Gym. The consultation again is more or less complete that, and we're kind of at design stages, just going back to finalise the design spec for it. And once that is completely finalised, that will be going out to tender quite soon for that one. The next point on there is just a wee update from on behalf of the NCT Centre. Of some community events. The first one that they wanted to kind of highlight was they held a Changed Lives, Changed Communities event where they worked with members of the local community in partnership with the Newmains Community Council to start a peer support recovery group aiming to re-establish the Men's Sheds group. They are providing start-up support until the end of the year, and they would love input from anyone working in addictions, ACEs and recovery. And the other project they wanted to highlight was, excuse me, the Stepping Stone project, where NCT are offering work experience or volunteering placements 1 day per week for 12 weeks or longer if needed, for people with barriers to employment, offering barista training, basic food and hygiene and health and safety training, along with support of CV writing and interview skills. And that was all they wanted to raise to highlight for their local events recently.
Do we have any questions for Vicky? Thanks, Vicky.
No problem.
Any questions? No. We'll move on to centre point, community events in Gowthrapple, Gary's People Housing. We've got Richard Bolton here to speak on that.
Hi. Yeah, just a quick update on what we've been delivering in Centrepoint for the last couple of months. We've done a number of community events and activities. We've had 2 large community garden parties, which was involving a variety of traditional Scottish food and Eastern European food, arts and crafts. We did activities such as puppet making. Wishaw YMCA did fantastic family portraiture free of charge. So we also created a wonderful piece of artwork, community artwork, which we entitled The Heart of Gowthrapple, and we're hoping to get that displayed somewhere locally. We did a couple of events for the Jubilee, community barbecue with interactive games, activities. We worked with Lanarkshire Food Partnership to deliver Big Chef, Little Chef. It's particularly successful, really high demand. We've also do a fortnightly men's group, weekly community gardening sessions, and a monthly soup in the loop activity where you can come along, have a good cup of soup and do some informal community consultation. We've also held a few community litter picks as well. Coming up, we've also got a variety of things such as a community garden party in October, Harvest Festival, and we're doing a lot more litter picks, environmental work, and some community art projects, and we're hoping to deliver a health issues in the community course, as well as cooking on a budget and digital events, which we're calling Tea and IT. So we've got a variety of things coming up as well.
Robert, you're on mute.
Robbie, we can't hear you.
No, can you hear me now? Can we move on to the community concordant, Van Ale? Dean, have you got a report for us?
Chair, Dan Scott's got his hand up. I don't know if he's got a question about some of the previous matters.
Yeah,
Dan.
yeah, can you hear me okay? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a question about the Hummanes Play Park. There was mention of a pump track during the consultation, so obviously I'm interested in that and how that's going to be. I just wondered at what stage the design and consultation, is it beyond consultation stage and where it's at? That was kind of what I was going to ask.
Gary or Vicky, do you have any input on that?
Yes, Chair. So the consultation that Vicky was involved in was some initial wider community consultation. Dan, we're not at the design stage yet. We will be looking at all the information from the consultations and the early feedback to prepare and develop some initial designs. At that point, we will come back again with another check on the designs to make sure that everything is as they should be. So we're a wee bit away from that, but we'll certainly keep your interest noted for the time being.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Gary.
We have the Hummanes Community Council LDP consultation work. Cam Mitchell, do you have anything to say on the work that you have been doing with Gary and Leanne?
Hi, Chair. I think Gary covered it earlier when he gave his update. We've had the initial meeting. We've since then did a consultation online and we're waiting to get the results of that through and hopefully meet up with Gary again after that. That's to give an indication of what application is the most sought after in the area and decide where the priority would be and what one we would be looking to progress further first. Is that right, Gary?
Yes, that's correct, Karen. But I understand from our earlier conversations that you had a very successful online consultation with the community.
Yeah, we did. We're just waiting to get the results of that from the survey place. And as soon as we've got them, we'll get in contact with you.
Perfect. Thank you, Karen.
Thanks very much for that, guys. We're now moving on to the mental health and wellbeing. Gary, do we have somebody to speak on the NHS Lanarkshire health improvement?
I don't think
Sorry,
we
Gary,
have someone for a general update, but Leanne will cover some information about strategic mapping.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm happy to do that. But Chair, if we could just go back after that to Jean didn't do her update around the community concordat. But I'll just pick up on the mental health work just now. I believe that there is a vacancy within the health improvement team right now, and they're just getting a kind of new officer in place for this particular area. And there is obviously a lot of work around mental health happening within the community. But there's a piece of work that I'm involved in just now with the health improvement team and with Jenny Hutton, who's the mental health lead for North Lanarkshire, and she leads around the good mental health for all strategy, and we have been doing a lot of work to try and map out the strategic priorities around mental health and the approaches to mental health that are coming out through the local outcome improvement plans or the LOIPs across all of the 9 community board areas, because as you're probably aware, mental health is prominent across most, if not all of the LOIPs, I suppose. But and I suppose even when it's not a specific mental health priority, there is threads of mental health through other priorities. So what we're trying to do is to make sure we're avoiding duplication and looking for opportunities to better align what's happening in localities based on local need with that kind of bigger, more strategic direction through the Good Mental Health for All strategy. And this will then inform how the local health improvement teams will coordinate and support activity within localities with local voluntary sector organisations and communities to support the like priorities. So just a very brief update on the work that's taking place around that, and we should have a more detailed local update for the next meeting. Thank you.
Hi, Chair. We couldn't hear what you were saying there.
I was saying, can Jean come in now with her update from Van Ale?
Right, I believe Ian Johnston attended the last Wishaw meeting and gave the board members an update on the community coordinate. The only thing I can supply now is the invite that we're having to get members together. It's on Thursday, 29th of September, between 12 and 3 o'clock, and it's at Peter Community Centre, Caledonian Road, Wishaw. So if you want to come along there and air your views on what could be done to improve people's lives and strengthen our communities and local democracy in Wishaw, you'd be very, very welcome. Did everybody get an invite for that?
They were circulated via the community board networks, but if anybody hasn't received that, please let us know and we'll make sure that that's forwarded. We can share some information in the chat bar as well with a link for people to get more information.
Thanks, Leanne.
Thanks, Jean. Thanks very much. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Can we move on now to our environment update? Richard Bolton again, forgetting people's housing, the centre point on the clean-ups.
Councillor, there is another wee point in the mental health and wellbeing, but also I think Richard's mentioned he's covered all his points. He's already spoke about his clean-ups and everything. I think he mentioned all his points in one rather than waiting for the other parts. Yeah. So
Right, okay then.
shall I just go on with the wee
Vicky,
other
just go
update?
to the
Health
NCT.
and wellbeing, yeah. Just on behalf of the NCT, they just wanted to let us know across the board what they were doing with regards to health and wellbeing in general and mental health. They held an event which was a marketplace where there was 14 vendors present, 60 people attended throughout the event. People were offered a variety of information, signposting and advice on mental health and wellbeing, welfare rights, debt help, mindfulness, fitness, outdoor play, financial inclusion, kinship care, carer support and more. And basically their intention is to replicate this event going forward, another one towards the end of the year, focusing on winter safety, home energy, food security, as well as good mental health during the darker winter months.
Thanks very much. The digital inclusion update, Jean, are you quite happy to give another wee bit on that, or have you already gave a wee bit there enough on that?
Well, I did send an update out on it that I received from Lynn Gow. She's the team leader at Driving Digital locally. They are having events. Wait a minute. She just gave an update on what the subgroup have been up to. She's explained how Comms World will invest to support local business local decision making, engaging with communities in association with North Lanarkshire. Comms World will also invest to seek to address digital inclusion, working with community boards in association with North Lanarkshire Council also. And Comms World will invest actively focus on success. Sorry, I'm reading this out, I can hardly see it. In the different managed areas. I did circulate it too. So what I'll do is I'll copy and paste it and put it in the chat, because I've no actually got my glasses handy and I can't really make out. Sorry about that, guys.
No problem. So we're moving on to the next update, which will be tackling poverty and inequalities. Vicky, that's you again.
Yeah, no problem. I was just going to give a wee brief update on the Period Dignity project, and just where, you know, that the links to that for Wishaw. This community partnership team manage this project. So it's the campaign is to promote free period products for whoever needs them and try to end the stigma, where we work together with partner groups. The council continue to roll out the products to as many public places as possible so that people feel more confident in going and taking them. So the locations in Wishaw area where these products are currently available, and I think there's a few more as well, but we need to get an update on that. It's Cleland Library, Made for You and ML2, the NCT Centre, Wishaw Sports Centre, Gowthrapple Community Centre, Centre Point Community Facility, and Overton Community Centre. As I say, I think there's a few more now as well, but I can get that further updated. Just to mention on that, there's also a new app that has been launched in relation to this. It's now available to download free for anybody. It's called Pick Up My Period, which will find the nearest location providing the free products for anyone who needs it. So the app also provides advice and assistance in related matters. So MD can download that for free now, and they'll be able to, if they're in need, they can find their nearest location to supply the products.
Thanks very much, Vicky. I was going to move on to the Centre Point events, but Richard has already explained that. So we'll move on to the community safety. Inspector Mulholland.
Chair, I think
Dan's
Dan
got-
wants to ask a question.
Okay, Dan, go ahead. Come back to you in a minute, Inspector.
Thanks, Chair. Vicky, I just said, I'm just wondering for like organisations like us that we're engaging with a lot of young people, and also freely admitting that I'm a more than middle-aged man who may be the wrong person to promote free period products to young women. Correct me if I'm wrong. And but I'm just wondering if there's any sort of like even just flyers or anything like that that's available for community groups that they could hand out and let them know about these places. Because we work with quite a few young people in schools and at community events, and I think they, that we all know that young people are quite a marginalised group anyway, and especially young women. So
yeah, certainly. I mean, the community partnership team, the project assistant Sharon that deals with this project just now, will be able to arrange that for you, no problem. And she has done, I think, I'm not sure how many because I'm reasonably new, but I know she has done like market stalls in some areas to try and, talk to, and there has been a lot of young people that she said that she connected with through them. So
great.
yes, these things are available and we can certainly arrange to get them to you if you want to supply.
Yeah, that would be great. I think it's something that, especially since we introduced skateboarding in a lot of our programs, we've got a lot more young women involved than what we previously did. So it's sometimes it's more girls than boys. So yeah, I think that would be quite good. And I think as well at high schools as well, we seem to, we're working with a lot of different groups. I'm sure the schools are probably covered in that, a lot of that areas, but we sometimes engage with young people that don't engage with school. It's quite often why we're there, So it would be good just to even have some things to hand out, but also stuff for groups as well and events. You're saying about the stall, is it possible to even book that stall for any events that we might have?
Gary, maybe you can answer that a wee bit better than me.
Yes, of course, Dan. Just get in touch with us and we can have a chat about that.
Magic, Gary. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Dan. Inspector Mulholland.
Hi, folks. Hope everyone's well. Listen, I'll very quickly just go through some of your local priorities. I think just touching on community engagement, I'd probably like to just reiterate from previous meetings that I'm really keen for the community police officers out of Wishaw to be involved in any of the community groups that are running events. And please get in touch with us, I've put on the chat bar our contact us page for the local areas, and we'll certainly, if we can assist you in your community events, we'd be more than happy to come along. I kind of give a vague update in relation to, because mental health and wellbeing has obviously got many aspects to it, but from a local policing point of view, just to make people aware, local officers from a response point of view attend probably 84% of our calls are for mental health and wellbeing and to help people as opposed to criminalise or for criminalised behaviour rather. So just be aware of that. We have access to distress brief interventions, DBI, where we support or we can support people in trauma in relation to financial matters and people in trauma in relation to mental health and wellbeing through our community triage service. So just be aware that we are here to help when it comes to people's mental health, and actually it's a massive part of our response within our local communities, of which we link into our partners to see if we can get wider measures put in place to help people in relation to housing, antisocial matters and various other things. I had something on the environment and it's completely come out of my head, but moving on really just to our priorities. Again, I've put in the chat bar there that coming into 2023, we're going through a consultation phase just now in relation to our local policing plan. So you'll see from that that our priorities are reducing violence and disorder, protecting people at risk of harm, tackling housebreaking and times of dishonesty, and reducing the harm caused by substance misuse. So that clearly covers quite a huge element of what you as members of the public experience within the local communities, the councillors experience as a result of supporting people within the local communities. And I suppose just moving forward, we'll continue to focus on that. With that in mind, you know, our kind of policing update really over the past while, housebreakings continues to be a theme. I'm glad to say that at the end of July, we managed to arrest 3 males within the kind of the Castle Hill Road, the Gowthrapple area, Wishaw, in relation to being within people's gardens or the curtilage of property with intent to commit theft. So that's obviously a good way for us to prevent, to be on out and about in plain clothes and actually catching people within people's property or out with people's property where they're intent to commit theft. So I would just remind people that we are still experiencing issues in relation to housebreakings generally. However, more importantly, people looking their doors and their cars being stolen as a result. So people sneaking in through the door and then stealing the car key and thereafter stealing the car. So again, just a bit of safety advice around about that to make sure that you are locking and securing your property, and that obviously helps and assists and supports us, because then we don't have to respond to what becomes a real trauma for someone having lost their car. Not to mention that somebody's been in their house. We have a specific unit, our divisional alcohol and violence reduction unit, essentially our local crime team, where it's made up of around 11 officers. I have direct use of them and we use them intermittently throughout the area. And I would just appeal to people if they can continue to call 101 or Crime Stoppers, just to make us aware of anything that they know of going on. And we can develop intelligence around about particular properties and look for sheriff search warrants where we regularly become involved in, and we've carried out a number of searches within the area over the last couple of months, which has resulted in some good cash seizures and everything ranging from Class A to Class C drugs, so everything from cocaine down to cannabis and other prescribed medication. Where someone's maybe taken ownership over that and they shouldn't have it. And in the New Mains, recently we had some real issues in relation to fire setting and windows being broken within buses coming out of the kind of main Wishaw area into the New Mains area. I'm glad to say that our community police officers managed to identify the local young people that were involved in that, and they were subsequently charged in relation to the offences of antisocial behaviour and vandalism. I thought we were getting away with the car barns issue this year. We put some real focus around about car barns. As you'll know from previous years, we have significant issues with youth disorder down there. I'm glad to report that over the summer holidays we didn't see much disorder, and that was as a result of us going down in pedal cycles, making good use of the police motorbikes. However, just in the last couple of weeks, we have been receiving calls from the local people down there. So we will continue to conduct directed patrols down there from our response teams, and our local CP officers are also aware of the issue, and they're kind of responding to the local need as and when required. However, we are directing officers down there at the weekends and hotspot area times and areas where we know to be historic, and where people are hanging about. There's not really much more. I mean, obviously, I am actually more concerned about what people's issues are, because actually sometimes the high hitting issues don't cut it, you know, and we have some local issues that actually need addressed. So, Chair, more than happy to take on board any questions that anyone has, or if there's anything that anyone wants to tell me just now. If not, the contact details are there. Please make contact with me following the meeting. We can respond to your needs.
Thanks very much, Alan. Is there any questions for Alan? Gary, do we have someone here from Fire and Rescue to give the update? I have DBC on the agenda there for Philip MacDonald.
I don't see Philip here, Chair. Just to double check, is there anyone here from Fire Scotland tonight? I don't see anyone, Chair, but Alan is looking to come in.
On you go, Alan.
Just obviously, Fire Service are not here. They've got a new LALO, so Local Authority Liaison Officer, who we've been working with, Martin Burns. I suppose by way of an update in relation to the Fire Service, we're working very closely with the Fire Service, with our school campus officers, and we're looking to do some focus work around about fire setting, given the fires that we've seen in the area, more so in the Shotts area. However, from a kind of younger people point of view, from the Wishaw area, so the schools locally will have a fire officer attached to them alongside police officers, and we will do a joint education in relation to some of the issues that we're having, and maybe look at the Fire Starter programme and other programmes that the Fire Service run, which will actually assist and support us in relation to some of the kind of wider community matters that we're having. So I'm not here to give a fire update, but that's just by way of an update in relation to some of the joint work we're doing.
Thanks again for that, Alan. Any questions? I don't see any, so we'll move on to the overview of partnership delivery approach and the LOIP monitoring, management and reporting. That's by Leanne Pollock.
Thanks, Chair. I'll be very brief. It's really just, I suppose, to put into context how we're going to be reporting through the community boards moving forward. So you'll notice that we've started to shift the agenda to be much more focused around the LOIP priorities that local communities have developed with us around in this particular area and the Wishaw and surrounding areas. So in the background, we've been developing along with community planning partners, so with police, fire, health, Vanel, the council, we've all been working on looking at how we can kind of track progress around these frameworks, around the delivery of the LOIPs using the monitoring framework. So that's now been established. The monitoring and management framework has now been established. It'll be very much focused on local activity, and there's been partnership teams made up of those partners that I mentioned, established across kind of 4 key teams supporting delivery of the 9 local outcome improvement plans and the 9 community boards. So it was just to say that from the next cycle of community board meetings, that monitoring and management framework for the local outcome improvement plans should be established enough that we'll be able to pull more structured reports from it around the LOIP priorities. But we just thought from this cycle it made sense to start to focus the attention of the agenda and the updates around the priorities for this area. But it was really just to say that as we move into the next cycle, the reports will be a bit more structured and coming out of the monitoring and management framework. Thank you.
Thanks, Leanne. Is there any questions for Leanne? So we'll now move on to the agenda item number 7, which is the community matters. That's for any volunteer groups there that want to raise anything. Is that right, Gary?
Chair
Go
Dan
ahead,
Scott's
Dan.
got a question.
Go ahead, Dan.
Wouldn't be a community matters meeting if I didn't have something to say in this bit, would it? Yeah, actually, apologies. I actually wanted to add an item to the agenda, so apologies for that. We have been at Social Track been doing quite a lot of work with pretty much the whole of the North Lanarkshire South, as they like to call it. We've been doing quite a lot of work from Bellshill up to Wishaw, and there's been, and also I kind of wanted to give an update on that and the fact that we've been working quite a bit on that. We've been working a lot with schools. We plan to be working. Another buzzword which I can't stand is cluster, but the Clyde Valley cluster, which covers quite a lot of schools and covers all the way from Netherton to Muirhouse, and we were looking to find funding to be working with the schools, and it looks like that's going to happen, which is quite exciting. So a lot of the stuff that we do, that we've been doing over the last, say, 8 months, we'll be able to deliver coming not this trimester but the next one, hopefully. So that will be great. So all our bikes and skateboards and scooter stuff that we've been doing, and if you've seen any of our Facebook stuff or Twitter when we're at Thornley Primary, Thornley down in Payder have got some, we've been doing some great work over the years with, and really helped us build a programme that's working all over Scotland. We are still, the reason I asked about the parts earlier is we're still very much trying to encourage the council to consider pump tracks and when in their new builds, when they build town centre hubs and new schools and all that sort of stuff. Still try to convince them that that's a good idea. It's got massive impacts in active travel and mental health. The main reason I wanted to speak with everyone was basically an update on what myself and Ian from the venue were mentioning at the last meeting, which was about Club 365 and our worries that it wasn't meeting the need in our communities. And it's definitely something that's shared. That feeling and that worry is definitely something that's shared by quite a lot of community groups. And so we spoke with, we've had some discussions, myself, Ian, and Claire and David at Made for You and ML2. You know, there are two groups that we work quite closely with and have done over the years. We've spoke a lot about how do we actually put something together that we feel helps families, especially as we know that things are just getting tighter and tighter financially for families. I'm pretty sure anybody who's a parent here just now is feeling that and a bit worried about Christmas coming up. And so we're thinking about how do we make sure that these young people, some are very young, you know, are getting access to a meal, that are getting access to some play equipment, you know, a bike or a scooter or a skateboard, whatever it may be, that these that are facilities that are in North Lanarkshire Council are actually being facilitated and that are the most, you know, some of the most vulnerable within our communities, being children in poverty, are actually given opportunity for that. So I kind of wanted to give an update in the fact that I spoke to those involved with Club 365. I'd like to continue those discussions. I'd like to actually see how a partnership could be put together with that, but I think that would be a long time in happening. No offence to the council officers that are here tonight, but we all know that things in the council don't work particularly quick. That's just the nature of the thing. You know, I'm not anti that. So, like, yeah, I'd love to work in partnership with that with the council. I think everyone feels that way, and yeah, we would like to see how we can support young people, and we're looking at funding for how we do that, all three organisations, and we're also looking at how we work with others as well. How do we, because we know that, you know, Wishaw and Craigneuk are not alone in this. We know that there's poverty in Cambersneth and Newmains and Alton and everywhere else. You know, Alton's probably short, sorry, but you know what I mean. There's these things are everywhere. I know that we've had, our worry has been very recently, we've had lots of young people
come at the pump track and the first thing they ask for is food. When we supply rolls and fruit and water at the pump track over the summer, that was happening more and more, and it was getting concerning for us. So I think that there's, I think the need is probably worse than what we actually think it is. I think it's it can't be easy for a young person to come and ask for food when they're hungry. You know, I'm somewhat flattered that they would come and ask us, you know, and that they feel, you know, that they can, but it can't be easy, and so it can't be easy for these young people in their lives, and it's so yeah, just, you know, any sort of help there. So the guys in NCT, the guys in Overton Community Council, you know, we are, you know, all you guys that are involved. I know I'm whitewashing this here, but you know, anybody, quite happy to chat and see if there's anything they can do with this. And it's also a good way to engage with families as well, because where you've got their kids, you've got their mums and dads, aunties and uncles, grannies, grandpas, you all know that stuff, preaching at the choir. But yeah, there are those discussions to actually look at something and implement it are happening, and we're keen to do that. And we know we need partners, and if we want to do it right, we need that. We need everybody on board. So yeah, that was just a wee update on that. And if there's any questions, just ask me. That's fine.
Thanks very much for that input, Dan. Is there anybody, any questions surrounding that? Any of the points that he's raised there? Okay, we'll move on to the funding. Gary, for the Recover North Lanarkshire programme, could you give us a wee update on that?
Yes, no problem, Chair. So this is just a quick reminder. We have previously circulated information about Recover NL Environmental Fund. So this is still live, and there's still opportunity for local groups and organisations to submit an application. So what I would like to mention here tonight is that for Wishaw, the applications are fairly low. We've got 2 that have been received so far. So there's still plenty of opportunity, and both Vicky and myself would be very happy to support and give advice to any groups and organisations that may be interested in finding out more about the funding stream. As you'll be aware from previous circulations, it's around funding to support community-led environmental projects such as litter picks and cleanups and small-scale environmental projects. So please feel free to get in touch with myself and Vicky.
Thanks very much, Gary. Standing agenda items. James McKinstry, have you got a community coordinators update for us?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd like to update in 2 parts. So the first part, I just want to kind of update in kind of Wishaw area specific items, and then there's just some general points that obviously impact in Wishaw, but impact in other areas in North Lanarkshire as well. So the new mains community hub, the construction work's ongoing, as everyone knows. It's going well. We still expect that the handover to the council of the campus will be before the end of this calendar year. That'll be dependent on weather and weather between now and Christmas, but it is progressing really well. And at the moment, we're hoping that we can get handover probably in November, which is earlier than originally planned. But to say that'll be dependent on weather and also supply of materials, etc., which again is going well at the moment. You'll be aware of the improvements that are getting done into Horsley Brae Junction. They're scheduled to be completed next month, so that project is moving forward at a pace. There's a number, since the last meeting of the board, a number of kind of small design works been completed round about Wishaw, in Graham Street, King Street, and the former church and church halls in Caledonian Road, and also in Waterloo and Robert Street. In relation to the Wishaw Town Hub, there's not much to update since the last board, but there is as well, because the sort of bidding window has now opened. So we can put a bid in for October of this year. I think it's important to just remind the board that when we put bids in for funding, we don't get 100% funding. It's a maximum of 50% funding that we get, so they're not fully Scottish government funded projects. And the council, most of the projects which the council's doing is coming from the council's own resources. And to take forward projects as well, 50% plus is still quite a substantial investment that has to come from the council. So at the moment, there was a political decision last year that decision will have to be reaffirmed before we go back in to make a bid, and also the financial approvals will need to be considered as well. There's a number of bids that we could actually put in, because there's no limit to the bids that we put in. There's a limit to the funding that's probably going to be available and how much we can match fund as well. So I'd anticipate that a report will go to the Policy and Strategy Committee of the council next month, which will detail what are the options for bids that will go in. And following that, as I say, it would be submitted to the Scottish Government and the Scottish Future Trust in October, and expect there'd be some sort of outcome probably before the end of the calendar year. So that's a few things that are kind of Wishaw specific. Probably just pause at that point, see if there's any questions, and then there's a few things I'd like to just update on kind of wider North Lanarkshire activity.
Thanks, James. Do we have any questions for James? No questions, James. You're free to carry on.
Okay, so there's a lot of things that are going on at the moment. I think maybe just start with, quite a challenging thing at the moment. You'll be aware that public sector is in the sort of heart of industrial action at the present time. So the industrial action will reconvene next week again. It will affect waste, recycling and street scene. It will start next Wednesday, and it will run through to Saturday of next week. In addition, industrial action will impact on schools and early years facilities. That starts on Tuesday. There's a strike being called for Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday next week. So obviously both of those things have real potential to impact in service delivery. We're currently working on that and planning for how we can maintain certain things. And there'll be communications that will be coming out probably tomorrow. I would suggest there might be public communications coming out in that, indeed, if not later tonight on the council's social network channels. I suppose there is a chance, there's a possibility that the strike could get called off. As everyone's aware, negotiations are ongoing, etc. But at the moment, we have to prepare for the real possibility that a strike will take place. The next thing I want to update is just that the community team, they're continuing to promote the free travel for young people that's now in place, and again through your own groups. If you've got an opportunity to promote that, that would be welcomed. The next thing I'd like to update you on is there's a new fund, although it's been kind of talked about for a bit of time. The UK Shared Prosperity Fund will come into place very soon, and that will replace current EU funding. And across the UK, it will provide £2.6 billion of funding, and the funding is available up to the 31st of March 2025. We expect at this time that North Lanarkshire will be allocated just short of £13.9 million of that funding. And as I said, it will be available to 31st of March 2025, so it'll cover a 2.5-year period. So more information will be provided to community boards and other forums as we go forward, but at the moment we can advise that there's going to be 4 streams in which funding will be under. The first stream will be people and skills, and that will cover areas such as employability support to support those furthest from the labour market, including vulnerable young people. Also within that stream, we support to develop skills academies to focus on areas such as digital skills, construction, which is a growth area in the labour market at the moment, and also health and social care provision. There will also be a fund for supporting local businesses with the intention to help increase startups, again linking into digital and advanced manufacturing support, which again is another growth area. Also, that fund as well will be looking into link into businesses to support their own transition to net zero. And also within that fund as well, be looking to support growth and capacity building of social enterprises. The next fund is the Communities in Place and that'll be a series of challenge funds to support areas such as active travel, which has been mentioned tonight. Also to look at how we can enhance sports, arts, culture and heritage facilities, and also to support community organisations to improve digital connectivity. There'll also be funding available to tourism marketing and also expansion of volunteering opportunities and assisting those facing fuel poverty. And the last one is called the Multiply Fund, which is targeted at numeracy learning, and one of the things that will focus on will be improved financial literacy for young people with debt problems. So that's a lot of things that I know it's been touched on in the community board in the past. More information will come out to the community board once that's developed a bit further. And the last thing I just want to highlight on, again, unfortunately maybe finishing with a kind of challenging area. We're all aware of what's happening with the economy at the moment and the impact that's having on inflation, prices for everything that we're purchasing, and also supply of materials as well. So that does have quite a significant impact in the public sector, puts all our revenue costs up, puts all our capital costs up. Clearly, it impacts on individuals in North Lanarkshire as well. We all watch the news and hear watch the scary stories that are on the news every night, or read the news articles which are in the newspapers. So we are looking at that as a council. We call it the cost of living project, and again, we'll be looking to engage with elected members probably later next month as well to see what responses the council can do in this area, and also, as importantly, how the council will have to manage the impact that it will have on our own resources as well. So I think what we're trying to do is not just sit by and kind of just see what's happening, but actually to see if there's any interventions that we can do.
Thanks very much for that, James. Does anybody get any questions for James? Well, the next update on agenda item number 8 will be the Local Development Programme, LDP. That update is from Leanne.
Thanks, Chair. I'm not going to go into the detail of any projects or anything. That's all within the appendix, and we're not asking for approval for any additional projects in this particular occasion. It's just really to highlight that this is the standard report that's been circulated with the papers. The main body of the report is that standard report that comes to all community board meetings around the process and how people can access and bring forward ideas. For anyone new to the board, Local Development Programme, or LDP as we refer to it, is a capital programme and can only be used for capital projects on council land. The programme can cover a range of projects, so kind of a small-ish scale improvement projects of importance to local people. So things like parking, play provision, heritage features. Communities are encouraged to identify projects through completion of a project proposal form, and it's really important that we can't bring, and to emphasise that we can't bring any projects for support from the community board until we've had at least a completed proposal form, because that then gives us the basic information that helps us to assess whether a project is viable, whether it meets the basic criteria before we get to that kind of, so it allows us to do some very early feasibility work before we start to engage with communities and start to kind of move forward with the project. So that forum definitely allows us to gather basic information to ensure that it meets the criteria, can be funded before we progress to any more detailed feasibility or development. So the Local Development Programme is a 5-year programme, and we're currently in year 2, so all 9 areas, all 9 community board areas have an allocation of Local Development Programme budget. The budget for Wishaw for this particular year is £151,605. We're not seeking approval for any further projects tonight, but as always, we would encourage local groups to engage with us regarding any projects they think merit consideration, and we can advise and support throughout the process and assist with getting those programme proposal forms submitted, and really just to say it is an ongoing process, so it is over the 5 years, so projects can be kind of moved around and prioritised dependent on budget becoming available or dependent on following feasibility, how easy or difficult it's going to be to move forward with a particular project at a particular time, but it is over a 5-year period, so projects that are not delivered in 1 year can kind of move into the future years if required, if it's maybe a bit bigger than we thought that it was going to be, or it's going to take a wee bit longer. So it is a kind of fluid process. All the information on current projects is within the appendix, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or bring Gary or Vicky from the team, who are much closer to the delivery of these projects than I am on a daily basis. So happy to pick up on any questions or comments, Chair.
Do we actually have any questions for Leanne? Oh, looks like we're moving on to any other competent business, folks. We're looking for Vicky Peacock to give us an update on NL Studios and the Municipal Bank closure.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Just before I go on to NL Studios, just to mention something that should have been under the environmental LOIP priority was about the green space participatory budget. There's information and a link on that on the email that I mentioned, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention, so highlighting that just now, and you can go back and get the link from the original email I sent you. NL Studios, again, that's just to highlight, there's information on along with the other appendices that was sent on your email along with your agenda, and that's just about all ability drama group that's coming to the Wishaw area, several venues, and again there's a link and further information attached to your email. Municipal bank closures, that's just to highlight across the board area that very important, because especially trying to get the message to a lot of older people who may still have accounts with North Lanarkshire Municipal Bank, that they are actually closing and they have to act quickly to close their accounts, and there's a wee poster with the details of the helpline to contact with regards to that, again attached to your email that was sent out with your agenda. So it was just to highlight those points to you. And that's me.
Thanks very much, Vicky. Any questions for Vicky? Moving on to Gary Stark. Gary, you've got a few future community boards meeting arrangements to put out, which I think we're going to be changing a wee bit in the future. So I'll let you go with that.
Thanks, Chair. So just a quick update. As you're aware, we have continued with digital online meetings. We are aware that there is an interest to try to get in-person meetings back up and running, but we're also very keen as a council to keep going with the use of new technology, and our proposal is to move forward with a hybrid option for the board meetings going forward, which would mean that people who would prefer to come to a meeting in a centre and meet in person could do that, and those that would prefer to continue meeting online digitally could do that also. So the technology is available to allow for this, but we are still looking at the logistics to make it happen. But it's just to confirm that we are working hard behind the scenes to bring this forward, and we hope to come with some concrete information in the near future about that. Chair, do you want me just to continue with the other item as well? So the next item on the agenda that I wanted to mention is in regard to the role of the chairperson for the community boards. As you're all aware, for many years now, the Wishaw Community Board has been chaired by one of the councillors, and we really do appreciate their effort and support to do that. We would like to encourage any community member, though, to consider taking on that role. And I know that that may be considered a daunting task to some, but I'm sure there's many of you with the experience and the skills to take that on. Our team would be very happy to have conversations and provide support to anyone who may have an inclination to consider it. It would be very much appreciated. And if you are interested, drop myself a message and we can start to have a chat about it. Thank you, Chair.
Gary, do you have the actual time and date of the next meeting available at the moment?
I do, and it is Wednesday the 30th of November. So Wednesday the 30th of November.
That concludes our meeting, folks. Thanks very much for attending.
Thanks to the chair.
To the chair.
Thanks to
Thank
the
you.
chair.
Good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Thank you.